Hello, this is Marcus Parrish, creator and host of the V2V podcast, and this is another edition of Survivor Series. Today, Alexi Lindez and I are going to be taking an in-depth look at Sunset Bay Academy in Tijuana, Mexico, owned and operated by the Heredia family. Do not send your child to this facility. You'll understand as you listen to the program. Thank you very much.
Hello, and welcome to the V2V Podcast Survivor Series. We are looking at Sunset Bay Academy, LLC today. Hi, Alexi.
Hey there.
I am here. Are you there?
I am here. Are you there?
I'm right here, and we're looking at Sunset Bay down in Old Mexico.
Yep.
So Sunset Bay Academy, our records show that they were established in 2010 and incorporated in California, and it looks like they have a staff of approximately 5 people. Where they're located, though, is in Tijuana, Mexico, but their headquarters is in San Isidro, California, just south of San Diego, and their headquarters happens to be a P.O. box. So I think that's how they were able to be incorporated in California, but not actually in California. Little tricky thing they did, which is automatically, like right off the bat, a big problem.
Huge. Yeah.
So there's not as much information about this place as there was Diamond Ranch Academy, I think partially because they're out of the country, but we did get some information about their staff and kind of what they do, so I wanted to quickly go through their staff members and who they are and a little bit about them. So first off, we have Christina Heredia.
Yeah.
Right. She is the Academy Director and has been there, looks like for the whole time from 2008 to now.
Yep.
She got a bachelor's degree at the University of Texas in communications with a minor in marketing. And that's really all we know about her from her own information. So she runs the place.
Right.
And then we have Hugo Wright.
Hugo Wright.
Yes.
Clinical
director. Indeed. He's a psychologist, done several things. He got his degree at psychology by Centro Universitario in Tijuana. So I don't know what kind of school that is, but I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be condescending, but if I took my child, for instance, to a therapist and up on his wall was a diploma from a university in Tijuana, Mexico, I might be a little bit leery.
It's a little bit suspicious.
I don't know. I don't know if Mexico is like a bastion of psychological excellence, but it's not, Yale. Okay. So then it goes on to say from Hugo's own information, this is something that you're a little bit familiar with. He moderates seminars at the Academy, and I don't know what those are. So if you could explain what these kinds of seminars entail in general, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, mostly they're brainwashing sessions. They're like days-long retreats that are out, that are sort of part of the program but separate from the actual regular day program, where kids sort of have to work through different levels of these seminars in those different stages. And a lot of them feature a lot of, basically what happens is sort of a non-really trained psychology person will come in with their sort of pseudoscience psychology seminar programs that the kids must go through. And a lot of it's really hectic and quite harsh.
Yeah, it would be interesting to get some feedback on these seminars specifically from people who've been there and done that.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though, because it says he moderates the seminars, which seems to mean that he kind of runs them, but there are other people involved that we don't know about.
Correct.
Going on with this guy and his background, his psychology diploma is in something called health psychology. And health psychology is really based in the idea that your health and your welfare and your exercise and the way you live has a lot to do with your everyday psychology. And doesn't seem that strange. But what it's really primarily about is what this place is about, and all these schools are about, which is behavior modification. So the idea is that we're going to teach you how to physically live differently, therefore you will become more psychologically healthy. And it's basically a pretty discredited area of study involving psychology. It just doesn't work out that way in general, because there are many people who live many different ways of life who have varying degrees of psychological health. There's not a really strong correlation between that kind of thing. Maybe superficially, but like deep down, it doesn't seem to make a whole lot of difference. And there's more weird stuff with Mr. Wright, Dr. Wright. So he offers he's an instructor too at the University in Mexico, and he offers he offers a diploma in something called psychobioenergetics, and it's a form of psychodynamic psychotherapy that combines work with the body and mind to help people resolve their emotional problems and realize more of their potential for pleasure and joy in living. Like you're going to get out there and dig a bunch of holes or something, and that's going to clear your mind psychologically.
Right. Or you're going to clean the program. You're going to end up cleaning the program or making the program more lucrative in some way while you're finding joy in it and pleasure.
Right. So this goes right along with health psychology, and then something else very strange pops up in his little description that he's something called a bioerotic therapist, which I looked up and I couldn't find anything about it, but it just sounds weird. I don't know what a bioerotic therapist is, but it doesn't sound like anything that should be done with kids. Okay, so there's that. And to kind of close out Hugo Wright, it's a little something I found regarding bioenergetic therapy for treatment of child psychotherapy and psychopathology has been strongly discredited by the Journal of Clinical Child and Adolescent Psychiatry as quackery. Like, they don't buy it. Like the peer-reviewed studies regarding this kind of treatment, they've determined that it's just bogus.
Right. So he's a quack.
He's a quack. So that's your clinical director at Sunset Bay. Then we have a family therapist, Mauricio Leal, I think is how his name is pronounced. And this guy sounds pretty fancy when I was reading his bio. So he has a master's degree in clinical psychology at Lausanne University in Switzerland in 2011. That's pretty fancy.
Yeah.
And he's currently specializing to become a psychotherapist. He worked in 2012 for 2 months in Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic as an intern school psychologist. And I wonder, it doesn't mention a name, but I wonder if this was another one of those out of the country boarding schools. I think so.
I think so too. What was the area that it was in?
It's in the Dominican Republic. And then he goes on, I further worked for a year as an intern clinical psychologist in a psychiatric clinic for children and adolescents and their parents. I don't know what that is. I've never heard of it.
The
psychiatric clinic for children. Go ahead.
The place in the Dominican Republic is called Escuela Caribe.
Okay. Escuela Caribe. Are they still in operation, do you know?
They are, but they've changed their names. But they're the same thing.
So, all right. So he's a clinical psychologist. He's worked with these programs before, and he speaks English, Spanish, and French. That's probably why he got the job there.
Right.
And this guy, he offers what's called a person-centered approach. And this is something that, again, is one of those areas of specialty that's been really kind of discredited within the clinical community. It really involves a lot of what is called psychobabble.
Yes.
And it was developed in the 50s by a guy named Carl Rogers. And Rogers is a guy who came up with the phrases that we all know and use today sometimes. Going with the flow, getting in touch with my feelings, working at my relationship, being open to experience. So in this kind of therapy, you don't really ask questions. You just listen to the person without really providing any solutions. It's kind of an atmospheric thing.
Right.
Very indirect. It's supposed to make the clients more aware of aspects of themselves because they're just saying stuff. And
right.
The stated aim is to free clients of the sense that they are under the influence of forces beyond their control, which really makes a lot of sense being utilized in a place like this because, of course, you're under the control of forces that are far beyond you. You're locked in a boarding school as a teenager, so this kind of therapy helps to further brainwash kids into thinking that everything's fine. It's just very non-directional. The idea is that nobody can really teach anybody anything, so it's kind of non-therapy. This kind of psychologist would let the students invent the content of the course. Like it's that hands off. Like, okay,
right.
kids, you're gonna tell us what we're gonna learn today. And only a small proportion of mental health professionals regard themselves as taking this client-centered or person-centered therapy approach because it really just doesn't work. It's kind of like pop psychology.
Right.
Stuff you find in in like a happy, clappy self-help book. All right. So that's there you have it. There's the therapeutic staff, all two of them with a director who has a degree in marketing.
Wow.
And then as we go through the staff, we have Jasmine Sayans with no background. Adelia Denise Heredia, I believe that's the sister of Christina. She's the academic director with no background at all. Then we have Jesus Omar, who is a consultant psychologist. He is the former operations supervisor at SBA. Martha Madero, she's a staff member. She's a licensed marketing consultant from the Technological Institute of Tijuana. Juan Cortez, staff. He's only been there since September, so he's pretty new. Somebody might want to get to him before he gets in too deep. And then we finally, Espinoza Sierra Roberto, and he is a staff member of some kind at Sunset Bay. He's worked there since 2011, but again, there's no background for him at all. And that's it. Like, that's the entire staff. Now, I don't know how you can run a school with 5 people, but apparently Sunset Bay Academy is running a school with 5 people.
5 staff members. Yeah.
Pretty much. You've got the director, the clinical director, the therapist. That's 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 9. That's that's like a staff of like 5 people, because all of like the therapists are there all the time. They don't actually work there. They come in and do, I guess, therapy, but no, they're not on campus. Probably the director's not on campus a whole lot either. So it's ridiculous. Like, I want to not do this, because the next thing that we're going to read is all the stuff that Sunset Bay Academy says they do, and it just doesn't make any sense. I kind of have to go through this stuff, because there was all this information I'm about to read, that there'd be a whole army of like adults and helping people and teachers and stuff who were taking care of these kids, but that is not the case. So
at all. Yeah.
Right, but first a warning. So, therapeutic residential treatment programs for teens. For those that don't know, it's a $1 billion industry with many facilities, either related or independent. It's just a big web of black schools that people don't know about, that make a lot of money, and they go by many different names: teen wilderness programs, teen boarding schools, behavioral therapy, residential treatment centers, boot camps, behavior modification programs, and they all seem to share similar treatment approaches. Specifically, some of these programs offer to treat nearly every teen behavior imaginable, including, low self-esteem, lack of motivation, trouble with teachers, poor grades, depression, confrontational behavior, substance abuse, other kinds of acting out, defiance, lying, entitlement, video game addiction. So a lot of these places say they can help with everything and anything. And they'll take any kid, if you got the money, including children with learning disabilities or mental illness, or it's not really even considered. what might be going on with any kid, whether it's serious or not, or the parents just want to get rid of them, or they have real problems. They don't really differentiate. So you get a lot of kids from different environments in one place with kind of a standard treatment method that really isn't any way to help people at all. That one size fits all thing or tough love.
Yeah.
So there's a warning. But Sunset Bay Academy, they came around in 2008 as Oceanside Teen Center, and then later changed their name to Sunset Bay Academy. It's co-ed, and they say it's for struggling teens ages 12 to 17. The negative behaviors and academics failures, they are indeed in Baja California, Mexico. They claim to have numerous certifications. And then we get into some of the text from their website that you really have to remember what we just read regarding the staff. It says, Sunset Bay has a full non-surgical medical clinic on site, offering services that include dental, optometry, an on-site medical doctor, resident psychologist. This information looks like it's incorrect. Dr. Raul Romero, and he actually went elsewhere to a different place called Pacific Life, which I think is associated with Sunset Bay Academy, and we'll look into them too. But he has since left Sunset Bay. And then medical director that they list is Dr. Habib Khoury, who is also not there any longer. It says he was a general surgeon at the Mexican Institute of Health in Guadalajara. And the academic director is Nadia Karina Corral Espinoza, but apparently she's not there either. So their website isn't even up to date. They go on to talk about their curriculum overseen by certified teachers, which we found none of. I didn't find any teachers whatsoever. They say they work in partnership with Forest Trails Academy, which is accredited by the National Association of Private and Home Schools. So I wonder if they're farming out their education stuff to a different place. Forest Trails Academy. It's yet another place to look into.
I think we did that, didn't we?
Forest Trails?
Didn't we look at that during... No? Okay.
No, during one of the interviews? No, that wasn't one of the places we looked at.
Okay.
It says they are based on a 3-phase program. Students earn privileges and outings that include trips to the beach, boat tours, going to the movies or out to eat, shopping trips, horseback riding, 4-wheeling trips, and something called La Bufadora. They don't really get into what that is, though, these phases. But we might learn more from student testimonials.
Yeah.
All right. They go on to say, we have years of experience as an inpatient single or dual diagnosis residential treatment center for teens with behavioral issues, helping them recover from risky habits and disorders that affect their development and relationships. They go on to explain what kind of teenager they're looking for. So they say if your teenager runs away from home or skips school, starts acting evasive, doesn't follow rules, doesn't help with house chores, reacts aggressively when he's being reprimanded, experiments with drugs, alcohol or cigarettes, has lowered academic grades. In reading this, I just have to say that it's super grammatically incorrect. It says, this are red flags that indicate that an intervention is necessary to prevent irreversible consequences. It's important to consider that when it comes to teenagers, situations always escalate if they are not stopped. And just wrong. Like, it's important to consider that when it comes to teenagers, situations always escalate if they are not stopped. Well, what the hell are they talking about?
Right.
Situations always escalate. No, that's not true. At SBA, we work constantly on changing the trajectory of teens and their families for good. That doesn't make any sense either. Changing the trajectory of the teens and their families, well, you don't change. It's just stupid. Like that sentence doesn't even make any sense. They go on to say our students have some base common denominators. They all have good hearts, good minds, and loving families, though they are feeling apart from the family at the moment. This may be a result of their own chosen destructive path through rebellion and defiance, or at the other end of the spectrum, they may be depressed, withdrawn, and feeling detached, and anywhere in between. So they already know, apparently, that the kids that are coming to this place, they all have good hearts and good minds and loving families. How the hell can they say that?
It also reeks of just putting all the responsibility on the teen. Yeah, it's the teen's fault that they were kidnapped. It's the teen's fault that they're in this horrible situation here at our academy with our 6 staff that are super untrained in Mexico.
Right. Right, in Mexico. So then they have some like FAQs. What can I do if my teenager is suffering from an emotional or mental disorder? They say, we have experience working with teens that suffer from oppositional defiant disorder, depressive disorders, and reactive attachment disorder. We do not work with psychotic or schizophrenic disorders. Although every teen is different, we invite you to get in contact with admissions. I didn't even see any admissions people. Like, okay. How do you handle medication? Only some of our students take psychiatric medication. These students are also supervised closely by our psychiatrist. They don't have a psychiatrist.
Mm-mm.
And his goal is always to lower doses until medication is no longer needed. That's not right. Why would a psychiatrist, the medical doctor who treats psychiatric disorders, say that the goal is to lower doses until medication is no longer needed? That's what a psychiatrist doesn't do. They say, do you have a list of parent references? Yes, we do.
We do. We have a list of parents of teens who have graduated our program or have had their son or daughter currently with us. Call our admissions department at 1-800-7 blah blah blah. They will gladly provide you the information you need about our school. More than 950 families.
All caps, too.
Yeah.
All right. We've helped more than 950 families with teen ages 12 to 17 suffering from different academic and behavioral issues, including they go through our extracurricular classes included in tuition. Yes, all extra classes are included in tuition. Only one-on-one classes are not included, such as individual boxing or singing lessons. How does that work? Hey, Mom, I'm at the school, and I want to take boxing. I'm not sending any more money. Like, sorry, kid, no boxing.
Oh, but if I don't get my boxing...
Then what about singing? Can I do singing? No, that's extra money for singing.
So the next one I wanna read because it's a interesting question.
Right.
What happens if my teen doesn't like an activity? All activities are part of the program, so we expect teens to participate. However, we may allow exceptions if the parents authorize it, or if there are any medical impediments. I mean, first of all, that says that, like, the teen would have to be able to get that information out to the parent that they don't like it, or or that something's wrong medically while they're doing it. Because I doubt whether any of these people know anything about medical impediments anyway. Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I can imagine a parent with their angry teen who doesn't want to be there, and looking at the list of activities or whatever it is, and they're like, I don't want to do that. And the parent's like, okay, my kid is not doing no running for my kid. That's not happening. Oh, the next one is good too, because it really, you have to kind of read between the lines on this. What certifications do the teachers have? And remember, this is in Mexico, so it's not the same as certifications that teachers have to have in the United States. It's totally different.
Yeah.
Teacher certification completely depends on the type of class he or she provides. Generally, we look for teachers who have experience working with teens. We also supervise extra classes to ensure their efficiency and effectiveness. So really what that says is zero certification. They didn't answer the question. This is their own website too, which is so strange. Like, you would think that they'd be more like tricky about it, but I guess these ignorant parents or whatever the case is, they just don't care to look, or they get sold the place before without even kind of looking into it. Because it seems like any reasonable person, I mean, if they really looked at this stuff, would go, regardless of what's happening with my kid, I am definitely not sending them here. And hopefully that's what we're helping with. We want to let people know how crazy this stuff is. And it's laughable. Like, it's not funny, but it's crazy. It's not funny, haha, it's funny, sad. Like, this is not...
It's mad.
Good.
It's bonkers. It's bonkers. It's absolutely mad. Like, you've got to be completely bonkers to send your child here. The next part is quite interesting to me. Would you go through that?
I don't know which part you're looking at. What are you looking at?
Well, SBA applauds the efforts of organizations and websites spearheading the effort to identify schools that engage in unethical practices and dismiss their professional and ethical responsibility to the children and families they serve as they continue to operate with unconscionable regard to the emotional wounds they create. Some members of these organizations are young men and women who were former students deeply hurt by these schools. They have made it their mission to identify these disturbing abuses and practices.
Wait a second. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Wait, stop. So wait a minute. Is Sunset Bay applauding you? Are they applauding you for looking into Sunset Bay?
This is really a separation from WASP. This is all this is.
You're right. You're right. And we'll learn a little bit more about that separation and what SBA says WASP did to them a little later, but it's also great marketing.
Yeah.
This statement. It really tries to set them apart and say, hey, look, we know that there are bad schools. We know that there are bad programs. And anyone who's going after these bad ones, we're on your side.
Yeah.
So it immediately, they try to eliminate any kind of investigation or exposure that they're really the people they're complaining about. Like, so in effect, they are kind of applauding us.
Well, the next
they
part
say so.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah.
Well, they say so, but they don't really mean it.
So also they say Sunset Bay Academy continues to actively solicit the feedback of professionals in the behavioral health field to strengthen all the students and parent services.
Right. It doesn't seem like they're doing that at all.
Because but also because a lot of the time the kids that are sent to Sunset Bay are recommended by someone in behavioral health field outside of the program, probably.
Sure.
So therefore, their words aren't really, valid either. They're just a part of this too. We continue to create binational partisanship with academic institutions, government agencies, and nonprofit organizations. We are a transparent therapeutic boarding school with numerous documented site visits by parents, California policymakers, community-based organizations, scholars, and professionals in the behavioral health field.
They're really saying here is a whole lot of nothing, and they're transparent in the sense that if you look hard enough, you can find the flaws. But they're not very transparent. I mean, Diamond Ranch Academy was much more transparent, even though they were completely ridiculous in their own right. They had a list of all of their numerous staff on their websites with a lot of background information, a lot of work history, a lot of just general information about what they say they do. And even though we pointed out how much of that was wrong, Sunset Bay Academy is I had to do a lot of research to find any information other than what was just immediately on their page. They don't even tell you how much it costs. They Sunset Bay asks you to call them so they can immediately start selling you on the idea of sending your kid there before you even know how much it costs. And then the part about the California policymakers, they're not in California. So their headquarters, their post office box is in California. But they're not in California. So a California policymaker would have no jurisdiction at all in Mexico.
Right.
All right. So then there's a bunch of other information. It's kind of from the former medical director, Dr. Habib Khoury, and he was the guy who has, and that's pretty much it as far as like who they are, what they say they do. And the next part that we have to get into is really kind of what other people's experiences are and some questions about why people institutionalize their kids. And so I'll just go through it and we can kind of discuss.
Yeah.
So the first question is, what's the nature of your son's problems? A lot of parents choose to institutionalize their kids because dealing with them is too hard. I think about this particular situation. This place is in Mexico. That means they have different, probably more relaxed laws and what sort of punishment, discipline these sorts of places can employ. In other words, probably less oversight or regulation. We can't even affect oversight and regulation in Mexico. Like, at least with like something like Utah, you can lobby your, government to make changes or provide more oversight or change the laws about how kids can be treated. But in a place like this, it's out of the country, there's really nothing you can do. That's another really important thing to know. Like, it might even be difficult to get your kid out of there. Another thing to consider that this person states is that this place will also intimately surround your child with others who may be of a bad influence. Maybe he has a poor social circle now, but what about at Sunset Bay? Which is a good point, because when a parent is thinking of sending their kid to a place that advertises that they deal with troubled teens, who do they think their kid is going to be hanging around?
What do they think the culture of conversation will be when the 6 staff who are taking care of God knows how many kids at this place are not around? What do you think? What do you think everyone is thinking about? when they've been told they're bad the whole time? What do you think everyone talks about? I mean, like it's really foolish to think that your kid is going to like some posh, well-mannered place where everyone's going to be talking about, science and, education. It's simply not the case. And the things I learned were ridiculous. I learned about everything, absolutely everything, from gangbanging to doing every type of drug you can imagine out of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. There's another interesting little quote here. It says, every image you see on the website is engineered to sway your emotions, get your money. It never happens as good as it looks on the website. Just like when you see that picture of a Whopper at Burger King, it looks so much better than what you actually get. It's usually much nastier inside, which is exactly what you were pointing out. This isn't a resort. These aren't kids on vacation. These are kids who are there, for lack of a better word, beyond their will. Like, they don't want to be there. They never wanted to be there. Of course they're going to be upset. And of course it's going to be filled with anger and trouble. Even if a relatively good kid goes into a place like this, however you want to define that, they're suddenly going to be surrounded by other good kids who have been in this abusive place for such a long time that they no longer give a shit. They want to, your child, your newly admitted child may be the one who's completely taken advantage of too. That's another thing.
Yes.
You don't know who these people are. You don't know the staff. You don't know the kids. You don't know the parents of the kids. You don't know anything about it except what you're presented on this glossy website and all of the nice people who are telling you about how much you're going to help your kid. That's all you know. And that's all you will ever know in a lot of cases. Until your kid gets out.
Yeah, you are the parent, you must remember that. And you are responsible solely for that child's well-being. You have been since the beginning. That should never change. And anyone talking you out of that is generally selling you down a long road of horrendous things happening.
Okay. Oh, there is a few more FAQs. So that was a little brief detour about reminding you that not everything is as it seems. So there's a few questions. What do I need to enroll my child? To enroll a new student at Sunset Bay Academy, you will have to bring all pertinent legal documents and items outlined in our admissions packet. How do I pay for my child's tuition? Payments can be made by check or direct deposit. Well, that's pretty simple. Where do I make my payments? Payments are made directly to the SBA billing department. Our billing department can help you decide and chart out the best available options to meet your financial commitment. Is the academic program accredited in the United States? Yes, we are accredited by the World Accredited School System, Advantages School International, and all academic credits are validated in the United States. They say they offer SAT prep classes, which I highly doubt. Is it a secure facility? Yes, SBA is a secure facility that has more than 15 video cameras, security night watch personnel, as well as 24/7 local police presence on site. Nice. They have a cop.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't believe it. And if it's true, that's crazy. All right. So.
But that also shows that they're in cahoots with the police.
There's something that happened, that incident in 2013, that leads me to believe that it's not true, because the police were called and they showed up.
Okay.
And then there was a problem with there was an allegation of child abuse, and the police showed up, and the police were like, "Sorry, we can't rescue the kid because her parents signed over custody to the school." And it ended up going nowhere. That whole
unbelievable.
Yeah. So it is different too than in the United States. You actually sign over legal custody, and you waive a lot of rights when you send your kid to an international school.
Yeah. Holy Jesus, that was low. Low-flying police chopper.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah, with the buzz.
All right. So what happens after my child is enrolled? When the student arrives at SBA, they go through a formal intake process. If you hire a transportation company, you will receive a phone call when your child arrives at our facility to inform you that he or she has arrived safely. Staff will conduct an inventory of all your child's belongings to verify that no illegal items are in his or her possession. Students are then assigned to a student leader at all times for the first 3 days. This adjustment period will help your child understand how the program works and the reasons why they were sent to SBA. How would being assigned to a student leader help your child understand the reasons they were sent there? I mean, wouldn't you already understand the reasons you were sent there? I would hope. Maybe not. Maybe
I doubt it.
Maybe the transportation people just show up in the middle of the night and take you away, and then you arrive safely at the facility, and you don't even know why you're there. So it has to be explained to you. Yeah.
And
within 48 hours, you will receive a phone call from your assigned family therapist, who will provide you with a detailed report that will inform you of the progress your child is making through his or her adjustment period. After 48 hours, it seems a little premature. How detailed could that report be after 2 days? And then it goes on to say, at that point, you will have a permanent phone schedule to receive ongoing weekly progress updates, not from your child, but from their assigned quote-unquote therapist, who's going to call the parent and tell them all the good stuff that's going on with their kid every week.
Yeah, that's general MO. I mean, that's with all these places, yeah.
And then finally, it says that they are located, and this is also interesting too, it's just located south of San Diego in San Ysidro, California, which is incorrect. Sunset Bay Academy is a boarding school dedicated to the rehabilitation of troubled youth and their families. They offer round-the-clock resident psychologists 7 days a week. They boast a 3-to-1 student-to-staff ratio to ensure students get all the attention they need. The academy works with a loan company to help qualified families afford the boarding and tuition costs. So they're just lying blatantly. Yeah. They're not in California. They do not offer round-the-clock psychologists 7 days a week. No one does. That's stupid. They boast a 3-to-1 student-to-staff ratio. Well, based on the amount of staff they have, that would only give them a student population of about 20 or so. Oh, and they can help you with the loan company, too. I wonder who owns the loan company. Complaint for sexual abuse in 2013. So what happened was the police showed up, and they talked to a night manager, and he was told the reason for the police presence, and they wanted authorization to interview the minor who was alleging the abuse. They refused because they had a document signed by the mother where she left custody of the child to the institution. So the institution was able to deny the police the right to talk to the girl. Right. And that was it. That was the end of it. There was it was a little story that went nowhere, and because this mom signed her rights away, Sunset Bay Academy is the parent, and they can say, no, you cannot talk to the kid. And that was that.
Well, talk about being a transparent program, huh?
former student speaking up about, hi, thanks for sharing your testimony. That bullshit, fraud, dumbass, evil school needs to be exposed. The daughter of Christina Guillermo is a fucking hideous idiot who is profiting off her dad's scams. I was a student there too. Maybe we knew each other. I was punished for no reason, lied to. My parents had their money stolen. Then my parents had medication months supplies, but I never got them. And the weird fucking lazy-eyed Dr. Habib Puri pulled me into his office, lied to me saying my parents lied, never sent my meds. I could see my prescription with my name and pills under his desk and said they never got my meds. 3 years after I got out, one of the upper-level girls who was still close with the Rotten Cow staff told me the staff had been taking my medication recreationally for themselves and selling them. I still have a lot of PTSD and anger, and just like you, my mom won't admit what a waste of college fund that was and won't admit how wrong it was. I hate my life. I hate that there are idiots who ate up the bullshit and lie for that horrible fraud school. I'm really just angry, so I went online because no one cares. But me, since it's what I went through, and finding the words helped me a bit. Thanks for sharing your story. Don't ever let anyone tell you to be silent. That dumb shit doctor even threatened me before I was picked up to make sure I wouldn't say anything about the truth. And at that point, they had so much abuse to me, I was scared for a while after that and tried to forget. But years later, it still comes back. And I fucking hate them and hope they burn to the fucking ground. Stay strong, and thanks for speaking up. Here's another one. They physically threaten, and everyone knows that they're not really allowed to say anything. And when I was there, I asked about the rumors, and the staff, who to me at the time were the adults, just acted like they didn't know what I was talking about. It was confirmed when it actually happened to me. They take you out, though, and the other kids don't see what they do to you in the intervention rooms. I was a student there and was abused. They did horrendous things and brainwashed certain, if not most, students. They keep up appearances. They do favor certain students and condition them to backstab, get each other in trouble for points, and kiss up to the staff and those who have more privileges or become upper level and are in with the staff, and against any who question the school. If you're white and your parents are present and show lots of money, they'll favor you and will use the hell out of family pics for their websites. Look at all these wholesome white people. Doesn't this place look fun? They hire attractive young staff to lure the parents and make the kids clean the facilities before parents come to tour. They threaten kids and their families' lives. I think this Christina Guillermo. I think that is Christina Heredia.
Yeah.
Ask Christina where the money families gave her and her dad went. It was widely known by even the staff that he embezzled the money for their vacation homes. I mean, it's just outrageous. Like, when you read stuff like this, and you think, okay, people say bad things about places all the time, like just.
Yeah.
But the amount in detail and just the weirdness of it all is like makes me believe that it's all accurate.
Yeah.
The kids who did well there were all fucking and giving each other oral in secret rooms once they reach upper levels with more privileges. If you are not actually bad, they punish you worse and lie to your parents so they can be like, oh, your kid is being bad. They have to stay here longer. If your kid is thriving there, they either conformed with the hive mentality or learning to be even more brutally cold-hearted, manipulative to play the system. It's the bureaucracy, and nothing good comes from this place. They controlled us and what we said. Deprivation and isolation is a hell of a drug. All the kids I know from there just got better at hiding shit, got into worse drugs, didn't get the chance to grow out of a phase, and many got pregnant at like 16. One even works at McDonald's. None of them went to college. Oh, and the bodyguard isn't there to protect your loved one. They're there to punish, beat, torture, and harass your kids in punishment rooms. They stole my pills my parents sent me. They gave me fake sugar pills he told my parents to pay for all which was exposed to me after I got out by a friend who was close with the staff. I asked about the medication switch once and got thrown into isolation. I was sobbing on the floor, and they had visiting touring parents come by and stare at me in the isolation torture room through the bars like some zoo animal. And they said that was where misbehaving kids went. Christina knows her dad is fucking underage boys in Cuba right now. Okay. Fuck them and her shitty family. Trinidad, whatever the fuck that bitch's name is. Shove your fake pug face in a pile of steaming Mexican shit. This place fucking perpetuates negative stereotypes about their own country. They saw how much I enjoyed reading, learning, and drawing, and took away books and pens and paper and eventually placed me in isolation, where I had to stand from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. all day, every day for 21 days straight, which really hurt so bad I couldn't even get into my bunk at night. Because I made the other students laugh and think, oh, and sprinkle in intervals of barefoot boot camp drills and personal beating sessions with Edgar. I'm very petite. There were young girls who had just been assaulted prior to being traumatized, locked away, and these girls weren't given the proper treatment or understanding. Instead the staff would bully and get the other girls to belittle her for being mopey or depressed due to her trauma. Now I just do what they trained me to do, nothing. Have not read or drawn since Mexico. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Sounds very familiar to me.
It's horrible. There are a few more.
I mean, I kind of went through the same situation with the isolation thing and then ended up kind of coming out and not being able to do a whole lot, you know?
It's 2018, and this place is still being fed money by easily manipulated because the people who actually had to live it haven't talked and were deemed juvenile delinquents. But like I wasn't, I just smoked weed with my friends whose parents are all either lawyers or doctors and who all went on to very good colleges and careers. There's a good point, right? So this person, she's like, look, I was just smoking weed with my friends. They all went on to become thriving professionals, but I got sent here. Right. Anything we said would be called lies made to come home. Therefore, you had to be very censoring in what you expressed. My insane, narcissistic, abusive family, including my sister, did this to punish me. They still don't give a fuck. What the reality was for them, out of sight, out of mind. For me, it was my real life. Time's up. Not a kid held hostage in Tijuana anymore. Fuck SBA. Anal fuck the Guillermo family and their little bitch Edgar. And fuck the staff there. Fuck con men. That's new. This is not, old information. When you're a kid locked away, not allowed phone or internet access or communication, and you're labeled as bad and discredited, all you have is your word against theirs. You think they really document when they had the PE teacher piss on the boys after beating the shit out of them, so they had to wear casts for months? We didn't have any rights or freedom to even find a phone to call and report any of it. We were prisoners. There's barbed wire. The owner and his daughter Christina told me, this is Mexico. There are no rules. When I questioned if some of the punishment to kids was okay. Not allowed to contact friends or anyone we knew besides restricted contact with family. You really think they're going to invite investigators and tell them what they do to the students while getting paid? The logic to send kids somewhere where you don't really have representation or a voice for the kid is skewed to begin with. Christina visited a lot and always liked to play up the, oh, look, I'm privileged from outside because I have access to makeup and clothes and lord around with her gay fucked up face dad. She's so gross and fucked in the head and not surprising at all she turned out not normal and scamming kids. Shame on a grown woman in this modern day and age. It's Mexico. They thrive on the tourist naivete such as yours. So don't be a naive Mexican tourist and send your kid here. Like, if half of this stuff was accurate, if a quarter of this stuff was accurate, you wouldn't want to send your kid there.
Right. I happen to believe most of it's accurate, but yeah.
I happen to believe it's all true.
Yeah.
People don't use language like that when they're being dishonest, and different people. That was like several different people from several different places. Different enough to, from different angles, different times, to really give a really clear and horrifying picture of this place. If this is all from one group or website, or I could see why people might have doubts, or some of the accounts were too similar. But it's all very, very individual. These people have had very specific experiences and different,
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty much it with Sunset Bay. We took a look at their staff, what they say they do, some weird questions about how they operate. Finish it up with some horrible accounts of people who've gone there.
Yeah.
Yeah. This doesn't make Diamond Ranch Academy look any better.
No.
But this really seems like scraping the bottom of the barrel as far as any of these horrible institutions is concerned. I wouldn't recommend sending your kid to any of these places, but definitely not here.
I can feel the coldness of the director saying, this is Mexico, there are no rules. When someone's seen something, they've seen something traumatic happen, and it's like on a level where it's bad, and you're just trying to speak up for them gently, and there's this coldness. It's horrifying. This whole thing is horrifying.
It really is. And hopefully we'll have an interview with a former student, because we did the interview with a former staff member who was trying to help these kids. I guess kind of get organized, and it didn't work out, and and not surprisingly it didn't work out. But that was with Eric Thor, and I'll link to that, because that will give a even broader picture of kind of what this place is about and like. And then maybe we'll get a chance to talk to a former student on the record in an interview upcoming. So that'll be good too, to kind of give an entire picture of the place called Sunset Bay Academy. Don't send your kid there.
Yeah.
Don't do it.